So this is the first cutting board I've ever made, and it is pretty intricate. It's a cool geometric design. I wanted to try something a little bit challenging for the first time, and I wanted to do something that looks cool, and I think this looks really cool. So this, you can see a couple different videos of people doing this design online. Jonathan Katz-Moses and his crew put together an instructional tutorial of how to do this and one way to do it. I went to his website and I paid for that video and the information on how to do it, so that's how I did it. There's a lot of different ways to do it. There's different approaches you can take. I just want to try that because it's spelled out pretty well. I'm not going to post any of the stuff I printed out on my site. If you want it, you can go to his site and pay for it for a small fee. Him and his crew did a ton of work to put it together. They got a great channel, so if you want to support him and support his work, then go there and get it and follow the instructions. One of the main takeaways I would say, when you have spacers to create these different pieces, so it's 3 different pieces really. Your triangle pieces here, which create the triangle. This trapezoidal piece here, that's a medium piece, and then the triangle piece in the center. These 3 are all the same length. Any one of these triangles, they're the same length. That's the wide spacer you need to cut. My spacer, the wide spacer was a little bit wide, maybe 2 or 3 30-seconds wide. The medium spacer that created these hexagonal trapezoidal pieces in here was probably a little bit narrow. So maybe a couple 30-seconds of an inch narrow. Same thing with the triangle. The triangles were, the gap was more apparent with the triangles originally, so I had to recut those and create a new spacer. The trapezoidal ones, I filled in a lot of those with Titebond 3 wood glue, which is the green one, and then some sawdust. Overall, there was a fair amount of gaps, minor gaps, and so I did fill a lot of those in with the Titebond 3 green wood glue and some sawdust. I mostly used red oak, but I did use some walnut as well. Another thing I tried to do, which I don't recommend, is I spread a thin amount of sawdust over the entire thing, and then wherever it fell into the gaps, I would just hit it with this Instant Bond. The problem with this stuff is a lot of this Instant Bond soaked into the end grain, 'cause this is all exposed end grain, and then traveled down into the wood. And then it dried and cured. So what I did was I sanded as best I could to try and get the top layer of this Instant Bond out of the wood, so it would allow the mineral oil to be able to soak into the end grain and saturate it. The problem was some of it traveled kind of deep. So even though I ran it through the planer a couple times and I sanded as best I could, there were some spots where you'll still see, I don't know if you're able to see it on camera, but where it's a little rough, or you can see it looks dry, that's actually that Instant Bond glue that is soaked into the end grain, and now there's just glue within inside the end grain. Nonetheless, this is what it looks like after I've treated it with mineral oil once. I'll probably hit it again. But yeah, the other thing to say about this stuff, Instant Bond, is it's probably not the best thing to put on a cutting board because it does have some rather toxic stuff in it. I don't know what that means after it cures or after it dries, because a lot of those toxic things are probably volatiles or VOCs that will evaporate, and then you're just left with the adhesive that's dried or cured. But it's probably not the best thing to put on a cutting board that you're going to be cutting wood and then potentially chipping out some of this wood, and then all of a sudden you have whatever's in these chemicals small amounts getting into your food or something. I mean, the same could probably be said for Titebond 3 Ultimate Wood Glue. This stuff does not seem... Yeah, see, this is non-toxic, FDA approved for indirect food contact. Whereas this stuff does not say that. It just says a whole bunch of commentary about don't get it in your eyes, don't swallow it, etc., etc. So, in conclusion, I'm probably not going to use this for a cutting board. I think I'm going to remake this and then try a couple different geometric designs that I think are really cool looking, and then just take more time with getting the spacers exactly right, and then just go from there. And then I think the width of this is about 1.25 inches, a little bit less now because I planed it, but 1.25 inch thickness, and the colors of the wood and everything. I think there were good choices, but the main thing, like I said, just get the spacers right on, take time with all the cuts, and then it should come out pretty clean. If anybody wants to watch me go through some of the steps and see a condensed version of me going through the process of putting this together and cutting some of the wood, continue watching. I'll have probably 5 or 10 minutes of me just sanding, cutting things, sizing things up, and putting this thing together. Thanks a lot.